Speedruns, the ultimate test of skill for many single-player games. The chance for many players to turn their protagonists into virtual Sonic the Hedgehogs, empty of all thought and desire aside from the classic adage of, gotta go fast. Or, according to Urban Dictionary, quote, an event where a gamer tries to beat a game as fast as possible or to break a speedrun record. You know, usually those are funnier, but whatever. At this point, speedrunning is a huge part of gaming culture as a whole. Many of you are no doubt familiar with the biannual Games Done Quick events, which have raised tens of millions of dollars for charity over the years. These events showcase a wide variety of games, and the streams and VODs are viewed by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, when they happen. And it's hard not to feel the energy when you watch it. It's great to see a game that you love on the schedule, and then tune in to see someone with likely that same passion you have for it destroy a game that took you 40 plus hours in 90 minutes. Or even games you have no experience with can be awesome if the run is fun and engaging. Back in college, I watched one Dishonored 2 run from GDQ once, and it looked so cool that I learned how to speedrun it and got my time down to like 42 minutes, I think, which would have put me smack dab at 170th place in the Emily category. Take that, cringe ninja gaming. I have never actually played Dishonored 2 normally. I've beaten it like a dozen times, played each level probably like 30 times, and couldn't tell you a damn thing about it other than sometimes you could like glitch through walls in specific corners and yeet halfway across the level just by like flicking your mouse too hard. Point is, speedrunning is an incredibly popular format and comes in many shapes and sizes. Tune into any GDQ event and you'll find someone running a game inevitably that makes you do kind of a double take like, huh? What? I must be thinking of the wrong game, right? Oh, nope, that does appear to indeed be visual novel Ao Oni being run at 8 times speed.
Very tricky at the speed. Die instantly? Yes. Okay, fair enough. React to that. Block that overhead. It's not happening.
Cool. And that's the sort of thing that I want to talk about today. Speedruns for games that you would never really consider speedrunnable in the traditional fashion. In the first episode of what may be a potential series that I'm calling, Why Would You Speedrun This? Episode 1,
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Now I'm a big fighting game head. I just went to EVO. Check out this sick jacket I got. And Marvel 3 is one of my favorite fighting games. To watch, at least. I like playing it fine, but man, I fucking suck. The level of complexity and decision making in this game is incredible to see unfold in real time. Just look at this clip from my boy Frankie G in his pools match at EVO. He gets down to Anchor Virgil, if you know, you know, pops Devil Trigger and X Factor, lands a hit on Hagar, and decides to snap for the kill instead of the traditional high time kill, which gives a tighter incoming timing so he can more easily time this whack-ass mix where he heavy teleports, air backdashes, and helm breakers Arthur as he comes flying in, giving him another easy kill.
Oh, that's a lot of damage.
And this was just the first match of pools they recorded, not even like a huge pop-off in a top 8 or grand finals level play. So then, what does a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 speedrun look like? Do we get to see this same level of expertise and showmanship? Is it a test of skill to see who can reliably get the quickest kills, the best setups to guarantee damage, or hit incoming characters, always pulling away by the skin of your teeth? Well, not exactly. Now, to be fair, the speedrun did actually start in that way. The first run of arcade mode by Hero_Azure was posted in June of 2015, nearly 4 years after the game had initially launched, and featured actually skillful play with a strategy of Phoenix right point, with Storm for a keep away assist and Super Scroll there for, moral support, I guess. THC, synergy, and damage. Now, I don't know if this was just Hero_Azure's main team here, but it is clear that they at least know their way around Phoenix right. And the strategy used here essentially boils down to just backing off at round start, calling Maya's shield and Storm assist to push the opponent back while spamming evidence collection until you get 3 good pieces of evidence. Once that happens, you then throw out an objection, enter turnabout mode, pop X Factor, and destroy your opponents with a tirade of facts and logic in the marketplace of ideas. Like any initial speedrun, this is of course a little jank. There's a lot of drops, bad RNG, and he even loses Phoenix on the Galactus fight, causing him to rely on Storm and Skrull to seal the deal. Nothing that really affects him too much, but obvious that there's room for improvement here, and it wouldn't take long for that record to be broken, as a few months later the Eduardo shaved by 40 whole seconds with an all-new team of Hagar, Doctor Strange, and Virgil, using Hagar as the primary damage dealer and point character, Doctor Strange for THC synergy, and Virgil to do Virgil things on that Galactus fight. The Hagar play here isn't anything crazy, but it is still an actual playing of the character and to great effect. As it turns out, the CPUs are just as susceptible as I am to the incoming mix of getting piped by the mayor of Metro City. For the next couple of years, the record would be slowly wound down bit by bit with new records set with very similar strategies. Pick a character with reliable tools to get through stages quickly, whether it be Phoenix Wright and Turnabout mode, Hulk and his 5H with armor, Hagar pipe, etc., and bring Virgil to hack and slash the big boy at the end. The first sub 5-minute run even brought back Phoenix Wright to great effect. So while they were somewhat cheesy runs, they are still displays of at the very least some competence with the game and knowledge of the characters. Combo routes for quick kills, knowledge of how to convert happy birthdays when they occur, etc, etc. Then, in July of 2017, Eduardo smashed the previous record by 41 seconds, all thanks to an incredible idea called being lame. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade here or anything, it's not lame if it works, obviously. We're trying to go as fast as possible, but the new strategy is inarguably a lot less cool to watch and takes literally no character or game knowledge or skill, all thanks to one Mr. Christopher Redfield, that boulder punching asshole.
That boulder punching asshole!
See, Chris has a move where he can lie down prone and take pot shots at the ankles of his opponent. This is the type of move that you will never, ever see in a real match because it's more or less completely useless, seriously. But when you combine this move with CPUs set to very easy, which the category uses, it quickly becomes the fastest, easiest, and most reliable way to take them out. So much so that Eduardo brought their record down 8 seconds further over just the next 2 weeks, all without even the possibility of getting happy birthdays. Just realized here, I think I've said happy birthday a couple times without really giving a proper explanation of what it means. In a team fighting game where you have multiple characters that you can call and put on screen at the same time, a happy birthday is when you land a hit on 2 characters at once, so you can do double damage or damage 2 of them at the same time. As an example of what I mean, this isn't from the same game, but this is one of the sickest fighting game clips ever. And if you don't know anything about Skullgirls, let this be the first thing you ever see about it.
Oh, yeah, gets a happy birthday. Let's see if Havoc can bring this back.
It almost has 5 meters. This is actually terrifying. Oh my goodness. Happy birthday. That's not gonna kill, but that's...
Eventually, Eduardo would go on to break the 4-minute barrier with an alteration of this strat that added Hawkeye as a shell character. Because the only thing worse for a CPU on very easy than getting shot in the shins every second or so is to also then be hit with some arrows at the same time. Eduardo may have been the one to break the 4-minute record, but it is worth pointing out here that they actually credit SureCoast, one of the other world record holders, in the comments of the video for coming up with the Hawkeye idea, though unfortunately, SureCoast's initial run seemed to have been lost to time. From here on, the record and strategy stagnated for a while. Over the course of the next 2 years, there would be a few new records that eventually whittled the time down to about 3 minutes and 51 seconds using more or less the same strategy. A minor deviation to the norm came in August of 2020 when Xeno VT came in subbing Hawkeye out for Taskmaster and getting a time of 3:50. Ironic that the copycat shouting aim of Hawkeye ended up being more useful than the genuine article, but if you're wondering why that is, since both assists do the same amount of damage, it's because Taskmaster's assist recovers a whole 5 frames earlier, and his hits are technically more reliable, and the one thing you don't want is a whiffed hit here. The last change from the previous groundwork came just 2 years ago in August of 2023, when Ag Yanma changed the game by putting Phoenix Wright back on the team in place of Virgil? That's right, the power of law and order reigns supreme, baby. See, as we've discussed, the only real point of Virgil on this team and in this strat is to just shred Galactus like he's barbecue pork, using his HS back and forth combined with the power of X Factor to do so extremely quickly. However, there is one issue here, where Virgil is actually at a huge disadvantage compared to Phoenix Wright. See, while anyone who knows anything about this game knows how much trouble Virgil is in X Factor, the key there is that he's the biggest problem as an anchor. For those that don't know, X Factor is a mechanic in this game you can use once per game that gives your characters a set speed and damage boost. The said boost is increased the fewer characters you have left, i.e., Virgil activating it when he's the only character left alive means he will be stronger, faster, and the effect will last longer than if he activates it with all 3 of his team members left alive. Although the amount of boost you get at each level is tied to the specific character, the rule in general is that of course each level is always better than the last. Unless of course your name is Phoenix. Wait, shit, no, not you. Unless of course you have a law degree. Oh shit, definitely not you. Fuck it. Unless, of course, your name is Phoenix Wright. See, Phoenix Wright is here for the exact same reason that he was the main character used all the way back in the beginning of this run's history. Because aiding messed up a bit. Phoenix Wright is, to my knowledge, the only character who suffers from a glitch like this that affects his X Factor's scaling. Specifically, while he is in turnabout mode, no matter how many characters he has left on the field, if he activates X Factor, he will get the level 3 benefits. As a result, as fast as Virgil's cuts are, Phoenix Wright simply shreds Galactus with paper cuts even faster due to a total 205% damage boost from X Factor level 3 and his turnabout buff. Even the Son of Sparta doesn't have that privilege. And this strategy remains the current meta. Although Xeno VT broke Yanma's record a couple weeks later with what to this day remains the current world record of 3 minutes and 47 seconds. And that's where this run sits today. It's a very interesting case, I think, where we have a speed run of a genre that is almost never seen in the speedrunning scene, fighting games. But it's still subject to the same life path as many other speedruns. Starts off as a quick playthrough of a game using traditional means, maybe a bit of unintended cheese, and devolves into a very basic structure in the pursuit of speed. For more on that, or if that sounds familiar, check out my video on Elden Ring's Zip Glitch, which had very similar effect. So that takes us through the history of the run and where we are now, but we're no closer to trying to understand the question I posed at the top here. Why would you speedrun this? See, one of the things that I haven't really mentioned here is what exactly a run consists of. An arcade mode playthrough of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 consists of 7 stages, 6 team matches, and then a Galactus fight. This translates to having to kill 18 characters total. Marvel 3 has a total of 50 characters, and from what I've seen, tends to not repeat characters in individual arcade mode runs. Marvel 3 is also a variable health game, meaning that not every character has the same amount of HP. The range in question here is between 375,000 and 1.25 million, though most characters admittedly have between 800,000 and a million health. Now, this may not seem like a whole lot, as even Thor can melt pretty quickly to this strategy, but in a run as short as this, every second counts, and I don't need to tell you that taking even one extra shot to kill Hulk will cost you time. Beyond that, there's also the RNG for the evidence pulls for Phoenix Wright. I won't bore you with the details, but to get into his ultra powerful turnabout mode that lets him shred through everything, he needs 3 pieces of good evidence, which are random from a pool of total 13 pieces of evidence, 6 of which are good. The breakdown here is not exactly as simple as just a 6 out of 13 chance for what you're looking for, and the specific math is out of the scope of this video, but I will link a deeper dive someone else made like 15 years ago in the description if you're curious. Suffice to say, there is no guarantee of getting the evidence you need quickly, and each pull takes 30 frames, half a second, meaning that if you get unlucky, a world record pace can easily turn into another bust at the last step. And on top of all of this, there's the main RNG factor, which is the enemy behavior. While they are on very easy mode and usually love nothing more than just eating lead, occasionally they may actually rub 2 brain cells together enough to block a couple shots, which will then cost you time. One of the former world records even has a bad fight where the CPU actually gets off a hit and then later on blocks, which prevented what would have been the world's first sub 350. All of this to say, there's a lot of bullshit going on here, dude. Call me crazy, this doesn't seem like a very fun time. So to try and understand the appeal here, I actually reached out to the current world record holder XenoVT, who was kind enough to answer some of my questions about why they ran this game and how they feel about it looking back, as well as fighting games and speedruns in a whole. Right off the bat, I asked the question that came to the forefront of my mind the entire time that I was doing this research and watching all of these runs. Why? Fighting games are not common for speedruns, and this game has so much variance in the enemy teams that seem like such a pain to try and reset for good runs. Why this one specifically? And Xeno filled me in with a pretty simple answer, saying that they always loved the series growing up, and when Marvel 3 came out, that was their first real jumping in point to fighting games and their first serious one, and speedruns were always kind of a funny concept. So when the time came later on, it just happened. They said it's all about playing the game in either the most cool or optimal way. And sometimes, like in a run like this, a speedrun is just doing whatever is the fastest to get that time as low as possible, and sometimes there's no glory behind it. Which is certainly true. There's not exactly a lot of glory to be had in a game with enough active runners to count on my fingers, let alone the fact that the only time I've ever seen any kind of fighting game at GDQ was a run of Brawl I saw like 4 or 5 years ago. So then, why get involved, right? According to them, it just kind of happened. Quote, I think it might have just been as simple as thinking, I wonder if people actually participate in these. Then after checking online and seeing what team I was supposed to use, I just went in the arcade and just kept going till I beat whoever was on top at the time. With the game being in the state that it was, there was less interest and even less on trying to speedrun it from the community, so it was just kind of up for grabs essentially. As for where the run stands now, Xeno certainly isn't trying to improve anymore now that they hold the world record once again, but they do recognize that there is absolutely room for improvement. They guesstimated that if someone had an absolute godlike RNG run, 18 of the lowest health characters, great luck with evidence at the end, and a good setup into Galactus, there's probably another second or two that could be shaved down. Even though they're no longer grinding the game though, they do still seem pretty invested. When I asked what they would do if, like, tomorrow someone popped up who just beat their record by a second, if they'd have that motivation to try and grind back and get it back, or if they were good with having 2 years as King of the Hill, they just said back, I'd beat it. Really hit me with the, nah, I'd win. As for where fighting games lie in the greater realm of speedruns, Xeno thinks that most fighting games are runnable and always will be. Though they admit that in the absence of a more well-defined story mode or something with a more traditional / obvious format, it will inevitably end up somewhat as like a dog chasing its own tail, which is to say runners will have to find their own fun and kind of make up their own chase. They also did express interest in the upcoming Tokon game to see if there's anything in there that could be viable for potential runs. So it's certainly something that's still up for consideration, which makes sense to me. As Xeno pointed out, there's nothing really stopping fighting games from being speedran, other than the fact that they just don't quite fit the traditional speedrun mold. Nevertheless, that hasn't stopped a small subset of runners from taking their favorite games to their absolute fastest. I mean, if we got people out here running the 3DS version of Street Fighter 4, we can really do whatever the fuck we want. I think that the main thing here is that because the runs are very non-traditional, what we end up seeing is a different type of player interacting with them. As I said earlier, a cool run can intrigue just about anyone, regardless if they're an existing fan of the game, whereas fighting games tend to attract runners that already love the game in question. A specific subset of runners looking to bring together their appreciation of speedrunning and their love of fighting games. After all of this, I wanted to give it a try myself. After all, despite all the RNG we talked about, the strat is incredibly easy, so I figured let's give it a go. And with the power of yummy hamburgers on my side, I managed to get a time of 4 minutes and 8 seconds, putting myself, I believe, at 13th on the leaderboard. Way to go, me. Not bad for a total of, I think, 4 attempts. So, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at a game like this. I think it's a very interesting idea, taking a game that is so not speedrun approachable and just doing it anyway. I loved back in the day seeing videos with JM Crofts and Brian F and all the guys who would do the little, flavor of the month videos where they were speedrunning the Street Fighter 4 combo trials. So it's always something in the back of my mind. I hope you enjoyed the first episode here of why would you speedrun this, and I hope that you just kind of got the idea I'm trying to go for here, right? There's a lot of games that people should not speedrun. Like, if you think about the traditional format, what games are like well suited for it, but they do it anyway, and that's something that has always super interested me. Like, I know that I love when GDQ comes around, looking at just the weirdest polls in there, things that you would never think about, and like games you forgot existed, and then you see it one day and you're like, what the hell? Okay, I'll watch someone beat it in 20 minutes, why not? My goal here was to kind of get things across in a way that to explain what's going on here in a run like this in a way where you can understand it without having to know too much about fighting games or Marvel vs. Capcom and the history here. I don't know. I think I did a good job, but let me know what you thought. And if you have other games that you think would fit the bill of what I'm looking for, I know I have a bunch in mind, but if there's anything that you'd like to see me talk about in potential future episodes of this, put it down in the comments below. If not, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you some other time. I don't want to copy Wendigoon's bit too hard. Bye. And before I go, I just wanted to say thank you everybody for watching, and I just want to give a kind of a special shout out here to Xeno VT for taking the time and answering some of my questions, as well as Kamikaze, who holds most of the individual records for character trials in Marvel 3. I didn't end up using much of the specific interview from that, but our conversation definitely helped form the idea that I was going for here. So thank both of you so much, and everybody else, go play some Marvel 3.